G'day.
Hello there.
I'm Aussie Robbo.
I'm English Gent.
And welcome back to day 4 of our New York trip.
Yeah, so it's a Saturday in Manhattan, and probably not the best idea, but we're going to be doing a day of very touristy things because we've got the Go City Pass. First of all, we're going to head to NBC Studios to have a tour, a small group tour around the actual NBC Studios themselves.
We're also going to check out Top of the Rock.
Yeah, finally do some shopping in and around Times Square, and then maybe sort of look for something alternative that we haven't necessarily thought about to do with the Go City Pass. And then this evening we've got a table booked at a very particular restaurant that's based on Victorian England apparently, and it's very festive from what we've heard. So please come join us. So first thing, we're heading uptown from 34th Street Herald Square all the way up to Rockefeller Plaza, and that's where we'll be going for the NBC Studios tour, where we meet in the shop. Right next to the NBC Studios tour entrance, well, basically the store for the NBC Studios tour, there's a sort of a bakery. I've never heard of it before, but it's actually quite nice. And they serve lots of different type of pastries, etc., coffee, usual thing. So we sort of topped ourselves up, ready for an early morning start. A swift start of about 9 o'clock in the morning, and then other people joined us. And it's about a group of, I'd say, around 12 people, mixed ages. And you have two of the Page employees who, if anybody watches 30 Rock, the old comedy sitcom, that was one of the prominent things in 30 Rock, was the Pages. And yeah, there's two of them, and they sort of work off each other. And the bonus of today, because it's Saturday, it's when Saturday Night Live goes out live on that Saturday night, and they do rehearsals in the later afternoon. And I honestly didn't think we'd actually get to view sort of the Saturday Night Live. I actually thought, if anything, it was going to be the opposite, because I knew they'd be working hard on it. But the TV gods were looking down on us, and yeah, we got to go straight into the Saturday Night Live studio and watch all the sort of techies do their thing and getting all the sets put together. And it's fully explained about how the build up to each episode works, which was really interesting. It was, a flurry of activity and really impressive. And added bonus for me, I love the Muppets. I love Jim Henson, love Frank Oz, Dave Goelz, and huge surprise for me, I'm a big fan of Jim Henson and the Muppets, and I didn't know that this was the building that actually held the NBC pipes, which are kind of Muppets lore. They are essentially from the late 1960s on The Tonight Show, where Jim and the team were making their start on television, and they got bored in a rehearsal and painted the pipes as all different characters, and it's preserved to this day.
The badge gets you a 10% discount in the store, but Darren did find that a lot of the sizes of the merch that he wanted had already sold, and once it sells, they don't really restock very much apparently. So the XLs and the largest sizes tends to go fairly quickly. So we didn't actually end up buying anything in the merch store at all because
the pin badges I wanted to get. One of my favourite characters on SNL was Bill Hader's doing Stefan, and they do have. I know that I've researched, and they do have stuff that they produce. It's not great, but there's one thing I wanted, which was a pin badge. They had one on display. Went up to the desk to ask about buying one, and sure enough, they'd sold out of that, and they wouldn't sell me the one which was on display. So yeah, came out empty-handed, which is very unlike me. But yeah, as a tour, it works out around $100 for two people. You get a pin badge, like a metal pin badge with a magnet on the back, which is just so you can be identified as being one of the tour people. They guide you really well, and they give you lots of information. It's always open for questions, and they'll literally answer anything. I found nothing was too difficult for them. And then we went to things like Jimmy Fallon's stage for the Late Show with Jimmy Fallon. Kelly Clarkson's her talk show was there. And then they give you hints and tips about how to get tickets for things as well. Saturday Night Live was never going to happen for us because it's a lottery, like over a year beforehand you have to apply. And then on the actual week, you've probably got more chance of getting on the week ahead, but you have to sort of go there for a particular time. You have to email them. You have to be at midnight, and there's a lot of queuing for hours in the middle of the night. Not something we could do on this trip. Shame, but at least we got to sort of sit within the actual, the studio itself.
We then did Top of the Rock, and it was very confusing about how to get up there. It wasn't signposted very well, and there wasn't really people there to explain it to the crowd that was kind of gathering around. We did eventually get into a queue.
So with the Go City Pass, you essentially have to you have to get into a queue to go into the box office, and then you're next to a queue which is for people who've already got tickets. You're taken into like a stairwell, and you have to go down and queue again. You think you're winning, and then you're told once you've got your tickets to go outside again and queue in the queue that you were just next to, and there are a lot of confused and peed off people, and it's a busy street as well. It's on Rockefeller Plaza, so it's a really busy area, and it was just nothing but confusion and people being told wrong things and being told it was a complete mess. And it's a shame because Top of the Rock used to be my favourite observation deck. It's now gone right down to the bottom. But anyway, once we got up there, we met a lovely British couple as well, who were also in the same predicament we were. They weren't impressed, but we got up there eventually, and it struck me straight away that there's a new attraction there, which is essentially, it's been on TikTok and things in the last couple of weeks, where you sit on a steel beam and you with a group of you, and you have your photo taken. It rises you up and it turns you round, so you've got like a clear view. So the biggest change for me is the main deck. When you first get up there, there's like a smaller deck on top, which is like the highest point. Then there's a larger part, the next level down. That's usually where you essentially can look through glass partitions and get some really good shots. But sadly, because of the new sort of gimmicky sort of photo shoot, it's just full of people queuing, and you can't get anywhere near the edge to use as photos. So basically everyone else who's not queuing ends up being crammed into the top small section, which is quite claustrophobic. It never used to be like that, but now, because there's so many people crammed in there, it becomes a bit of I didn't stay up there very long.
So I didn't really feel very comfortable at Top of the Rock, to be honest. It felt more exposed, it felt more open, and I just kind of stood in the middle with two other people who also weren't too comfortable up there. But I didn't really enjoy this experience, and I couldn't wait to get down, actually, to be honest.
So it's not all bad in regards to Top of the Rock. I would still recommend it. The only thing I would say is, with the new attraction, maybe give it a few months and not go up in the daytime if you've got other alternatives. Maybe you could try one of the other observation decks we've already shown you in previous episodes. I would probably guess that with it, if it's nighttime, there's not going to be as many people using the new experience, the girder photograph opportunity. My main love of Top of the Rock is it probably has the best view, and you can get the best photos of both downtown and uptown. So you get to see the Empire State Building at its best, especially if the sun's out, because you get to see the sun coming through the windows if you just catch it at the right time. Same at night time, it looks spectacular because the Empire State Building is lit up like a Christmas tree all year round, and it varies depending on the night. Uptown is where you get to see the whole of Central Park spread out in front of you, and now with the additional of a section of Billionaires Row, which is the sort of road that goes along the bottom part of Central Park. Price wise, it's pretty much the same as all the other ones. It varies depending on season and time of day.
So the other day, yesterday's vlog, we were here, and then we staying just below here, and then on day 2 we went up Summit Vanderbilt, which is here.
We did the City Pass, so it was all included in there. But yeah, there are always options to do returns as well, so you can do day and night tickets usually, but you can't do that with the City Pass. That's something to always remember when you're doing these entertainment and attraction passes, is they usually only allow you one entry, and you have to sort of pick which time you want to do and which ones to sacrifice. If I was going to do it again, I probably would go back in the evening, to be honest. But we were a little bit, I don't know, disappointed, a little bit dejected when we were leaving. It wasn't, considering all the stress it was to get in there and get up there, it did feel a little bit, it left us deflated at the end of the day. But I would also recommend it, like I say, just for a first visit.
One thing to note is we did also go on a Saturday, so it may have been busier on a Saturday than it might be in weekdays. We couldn't really tell you either way, but there was that element of the fact that it was a Saturday, so it could have been busier on a Saturday. One of the good advantages of going Top of the Rock is that it is a lot more central than some of the other lookouts. So it is fairly close to Times Square if you're staying fairly central and you want to do the whole Times Square experience. It is a lot better to get to in that respect. said, we did hit Times Square and we did a bit of shopping. It was really, really busy. Obviously, it's Christmas period and there's a lot of people in on a Saturday going in shopping. But we did manage to get a few bargains, picked up a few things that we were after, Levi's, and Darren went into Tomashi Nations. We also checked out a comic store that we both wanted to see, which was called
Midtown Comics.
So we went to Midtown Comics. I remember that from a kid, seeing the adverts in the comics that I used to read. So it was quite cool to check it out. It did have a lot of stuff in there, but it was definitely Times Square prices. It wasn't cheap.
We might try. There's multiple sites for Midtown Comics, so it's always worth, if you're going downtown as well. There's one near Grand Central Station, and there's also one downtown near sort of like the financial district, like Wall Street. So if we're ever down there in the next couple of days, we might check out those, because they are quite different. They're a bit more chilled as well. Again, things which are in Times Square are always going to be busier and a bit more hectic. So one thing we did after the Rock was we had some we knew we didn't have to rush back to the hotel. We had some time spare, and we thought we'd use the Go City Pass on something just random that was nearby, something that we didn't have to pre-book. And we'd heard of something which is essentially like a cross between a museum and a ride experience, and didn't know much about it at all apart from that. And yeah, it was called RiseNY, basically NYC. So it's essentially like tells you the history of New York in a nutshell, and it uses interactive elements to do that. It also talks about things like films that are situated in New York, theatre, music, and there were some really surprise pieces in there, like Madonna's Keith Haring jacket was on display. There was All About the Family, that kind of thing, and then also things about different sitcoms.
QR codes around everywhere, and you go, so this is for All in the Family. There we go. Click. And you've got a whole little personal audio guide for All in the Family, and then it goes on to each and every show that they're covering.
Sesame Street, Oscar the Grouch, on the Friends couch. So anything was just it wasn't things that were filmed in New York, but it was things that were situated in New York. And then it ends off, if anybody's been to Disney and been on Soaring, essentially they do their own version, which was very similar, where you go on a trip through New York and through the different periods of time. It was okay.
So it was kind of a mixture between weird CG footage and drone footage, with some strange transitions going on in between. It wasn't quite as good as the Disney Soaring rides, but it was a good little exercise and people seemed to enjoy it. We were kind of a little baffled by it, but I actually enjoyed the exhibitions more before we actually went on the ride than I did actually experiencing the ride at the end.
It was a long wait for the ride. The rest of the museum had a really good flow to it, and then you got to the ride section, and we were there for like half an hour.
It was a little disorganized, yeah.
Yeah, it did feel very frustrating. And then you got people who've got VIP passes who keep just going past you. But yeah, it's worth it. I would say if it's a rainy day or a day where it's just not the best outside and you've got the Go City Pass, use it. You go and do something. At the end of the day, you're not going to be there for like hours. It's literally just like we were there for about an hour or so, and yeah, we really enjoyed it. It was a nice surprise.
And also around this time, about 4 or 5 o'clock, there was a Santa run in the middle of New York, the same as they do in London, and the area just filled up with people dressed as Santa and Christmas related, but also they were quite drunk, so it did become quite annoying at times.
Yeah.
We grabbed something quickly to eat at Taco Bell. Couldn't come to New York without getting Taco Bell at least once, and then we headed back to the hotel for a bit of a rest before heading out in the evening for dinner.
So tonight we've got a late booking for Lillies, which is a Victorian establishment, and this is said Lillie apparently. She is the star of the establishment. We're going to find out more about it. But it looks really, really Christmassy, very, very Victorian. So I'm quite excited to see what the food's like as well. I'm gathering it's going to be kind of British flavours as well as Italian. We'll see.
So Darren, we just had dinner at Lillies. There are multiple locations for this one. So this one is the one by Times Square,
and there's one further down.
Yeah. But how was the dinner in this place? Well, how was the experience first of all? How did it start?
Not great. We had a 10 o'clock booking. We got here 10 minutes early. Not a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah.
Told to go and stand just at the end of the bar, past the.
Yeah, but we were standing inside the door, and we waited for 20 minutes. The guy who was doing the door kind of ignored us for 20 minutes. And actually took people in after we'd already been standing there, and then he acknowledged us. Basically, I had to kind of force us to get acknowledged, and then he made us wait another 10 minutes to get our table, which we'd already booked. So we were late to the table. So that was unimpressive. That was an impressive start to the experience.
Two people with a 10:30 booking basically got two seats before we did.
And then we got to the table. How was? I mean, it's. The restaurant as aesthetically is quite beautiful. It's decorated very nicely. The theming is very cool. It's got like an old timey kind of Victorian.
It's all style, no knickers or something like that. Is that old?
So
it's beautiful. It's really like Christmassy Victorian vibe going on, but there's no consistency.
So I get the impression they were short-staffed, or they didn't really have any staff trained, or I don't know what the deal was. So we didn't get given menus when we sat down. When the girl finally came to us, I said we haven't got menus, and so she went and got like a QR code thing that we had to scan to put on our phone. So that was okay. We started looking at the menu, but she took the order. It was fine. The starters arrived before the drinks.
The drinks didn't arrive until way into it.
Starters, I had the mushroom risotto. That was fine.
I had the soup of the day, which was potato.
Yours was quite nice.
It was nice.
Flavor,
it was nice. A lot of flavour.
Yeah.
Really buttery. The bread, the sourdough bread was really nice with it as well, and it was very hot as well.
The drinks took a while to get to the table.
Yeah.
I had a mocktail, Florence Welch, pineapple, and a few other things in there. It was quite nice. It was very, very small. Looked quite pretty, but it was very small.
I actually went for a vodka-based drink, which was strawberry peach, and I can't think what else it was. But it was nice. But we've had cocktails elsewhere on this trip, and we've had a lot more with them. You get a lot more with, and the presentation was better in some places, but also the price was exactly the same for the places.
Yeah.
But you got less, and it was fine.
And for mains, I had the ham, the honey baked ham, which came with shaved Brussels sprouts, carrots and potatoes. It was a lot of meat. I couldn't believe how much meat I had compared to the vegetables. It was kind of crazy how much meat I had. The ham was nice. The Brussels sprouts, actually, the shaved Brussels sprouts were surprisingly nice.
Yeah.
The rest of the meal was a bit bland, to be honest. How was yours?
Mine was, I wasn't originally going to go for a chicken dish, but then I thought, I'm going to see how the Americans do their fish and chips, or how they perceive a British fish and chip. And I was kind of dreading it. Once I'd chosen, I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I made the right decision. But it turned up, and it was actually, the fish was lovely. The wedges that came with it were lovely. The sauce was nice. The only thing was, it was a weird presentation. Everything else, like, again, lack of consistency. When we first got there, it was all these kind of mix and match sort of Victorian plates, like very decorative plates. Your main came like that as well. But
it was fine, yeah.
But mine came in like a very rustic, sort of early noughties kind of grey thing, and it was like, and it wasn't very big, and you were basically pushing food.
Overall, a very Instagrammable, pretty restaurant. Great Christmas thing going on there, great Christmas music. So aesthetically, it's very pleasing, but the service is pretty terrible in this restaurant that we experienced. And we saw other people who were cancelling drinks and stuff because they were waiting too long and things like that. So I would say give the other location a try. It's over by Italy, actually, where we ate 2 nights ago.
It's a bit more chilled, less.
I would definitely give it a try, but I would give the other location a go if I was you.
I think if you're going to come to this one, maybe just do drinks. Just come to the bar, do some drinks, get the festive vibe. It changes seasonally as well, so it's not just this all the time, from what I can gather.
Overall, I'd give it 2 shrimps and a barbie, and that's because it was a very nice looking restaurant.
And that's same for me, 2 Kenobis out of 5.
Yeah.
But now we're going to head home because it's been a long day.
Overall, this was our 3rd day doing one of the viewing platforms, and actually this was probably one of the most disappointing ones so far that we've experienced. They're not all going to be great viewing platforms, but this did have a better view than some of the other ones we'd actually done. It just wasn't enjoyable when we were doing it.
The environment wasn't great. Really looking forward to going up there because I love it, but I was really disappointed and couldn't wait to get down.
But let us know if you've tried the Rock, especially after they installed the new sitting or the new
steel beam thing.
Yeah.
Because I'd be interested to see, because we didn't end up paying the uplift for it, and the queue was stupidly long, so we just thought, no, we're not going to try.
And let us know if you've also tried Lillie's restaurant.
Lillies is like we've said earlier, that Lillies, there's 2 places in Manhattan, and we'd be interested to see if anybody's been to either or both and how it compares. It's certainly got potential, but for us it was a bit of a letdown at the one at Times Square. Again, Times Square, you kind of have to sort of take it with a pinch of salt because it's going to be a busier area, a bit like Leicester Square in London. So we've got 2 more days to go. Tomorrow we'll be concentrating downtown, and hopefully be able to come and join us.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.